If you are over 60 and you are currently receiving any kind of state support alongside your pension, there is a single mistake sitting in front of thousands of pensioners right now, and most of them have absolutely no idea they are about to make it. It is not fraud, it is not carelessness. It is something so small, so easy to overlook, that honest, careful people make it every single month without ever realizing what it costs them. And the cruel part is this: the DWP will not stop you from making it. They will not warn you beforehand. They will simply let it happen and then quietly act on it weeks or months later, by which point the damage is already done. I have gone through the actual rules, the real cases, and the exact pattern that catches people out. And by the end of this video, you will know precisely what this mistake is, why it catches so many honest pensioners, and the simple thing you can check this week to make absolutely certain it never happens to you. I'm James Hartley, and I want to walk you through this properly, piece by piece, so that you are never one of the people caught out by something this avoidable. Before I go any further, do me a quick favor and hit subscribe and turn on the bell. The rules around pensions and the benefits that sit alongside them shift constantly, and nobody from the government rings you up to explain what a change means for your situation. I take these the moment they land and put them into plain English, so you always know exactly where you stand. Hit subscribe, and let's get into it. Let me tell you exactly what this is, because once you hear it, you will understand immediately why it catches so many people. The mistake is failing to report a change in your circumstances within the time limit the DWP allows. That sounds simple. It sounds like something only a careless person would do. But the reality is almost the complete opposite, and that is exactly why this catches careful, honest pensioners more than anyone else. The benefits and support that sit alongside your state pension, things like pension credit, housing benefit, council tax reduction, and attendance allowance, are not fixed once and left alone. They are built on the assumption that your circumstances stay the same as they were on the day you applied. The moment something in your life changes, even something that feels completely unrelated to money, the system expects you to tell them, and it expects you to tell them quickly. The window for reporting most changes is just one calendar month. Miss that window, even by a matter of days, and what should have been a simple update to your record can turn into a reduced payment, a suspended payment, or in some cases, a demand to repay money you received perfectly innocently. Here's the part that genuinely surprises people once they understand it. This mistake does not catch people who are trying to hide something. It catches people who simply did not realize a particular event counted as a reportable change in the first place. Think about the kind of things that quietly happen in retirement. A grown-up child moves back home for a few months while they sort out a new job. A grandchild stays with you over the summer. Your savings shift because you finally sold a property or received a small inheritance. You go into hospital for a stay longer than expected. A partner moves in, or sadly, a partner passes away. None of these feel like financial events. They feel like ordinary life. But to the system underpinning your benefits, every single one of them is a change in circumstances that needs to be reported, and reported within that 1 month window. The person who quietly lets their son move back in for a few months while he gets back on his feet is not trying to cheat the system. They are simply living their life. But if that change affects what they are entitled to, and the DWP finds out later rather than being told straight away, the consequences fall on the pensioner, not on the system that never explained the rule clearly to begin with. Let me walk you through the specific changes that catch the most people, because once you hear the actual list, you will likely recognize at least one of them from your own life recently. The first is a change in who lives in your household. If someone moves in with you, whether that is an adult child, a partner, or a family member needing support, it can affect benefits like pension credit and council tax reduction. The reverse is also true. If someone who used to live with you moves out, that can change your entitlement as well, sometimes increasing what you are owed, which is exactly why it is still worth reporting, even when the news feels good rather than worrying. The second is any change to your savings or capital. This is the one I want you to pay closest attention to, because it catches an enormous number of people without them ever intending anything dishonest. If you receive an inheritance, sell a property, or simply watch your savings grow past a certain point through ordinary frugal living, that change needs to be reported. Many pensioners assume that because the money came to them honestly, there is nothing to declare. But the rules do not work that way. The benefit calculation cares about where your finances stand today, not how the money got there. The third is a stay in hospital. This surprises almost everyone. If you or your partner are admitted to hospital for a stay beyond a certain length, it can affect certain benefits, including elements of pension credit and attendance allowance. Families dealing with a hospital admission are rarely thinking about benefit paperwork in that moment, and understandably so. But the clock on reporting the change starts regardless of what else is happening in your life at the time. The fourth is a change in your health or care needs, particularly where it affects a benefit like attendance allowance or personal independence payment. If your condition improves or worsens significantly, that is considered a reportable change, even though it can feel deeply strange to report that you are doing better, as though it were bad news. And the fifth, which catches more people than almost any other on this list, is a change in income. This includes anything from a small private pension, finally starting to pay out, to a part-time job taken on to top up retirement income, to a one-off payment that arrives unexpectedly. Even modest amounts of additional income can be enough to shift what you are entitled to. Now let me tell you honestly what happens once that 1-month window has passed, because this is the part that turns an innocent oversight into something that genuinely costs you money. If the DWP discovers a change that should have been reported and was not, they treat the period between when the change happened and when they found out as an overpayment. It does not matter that you did not intend to mislead anyone. It does not matter that the change felt unrelated to your benefits. The calculation is mechanical. They work out what you should have received, compare it to what you actually received, and the difference becomes a debt. That debt is then recovered, often by reducing your future payments until it is repaid in full. For someone living carefully on a fixed retirement income, a sudden reduction in a payment they were relying on can be genuinely difficult to absorb, particularly when it arrives without warning and stretches over many months. In more serious cases, where the change was significant and the delay in reporting it was lengthy, the DWP can treat it as an official overpayment, requiring formal repayment arrangements. And in rare cases, it can trigger a wider review of your claim altogether. The frustrating truth is that almost none of the people this happens to set out to do anything wrong They simply did not know that the ordinary, unremarkable thing that happened in their life was something the system needed to be told about within 30 days. I want to be precise about the timing here, because vague advice is exactly what leads to mistakes like this in the first place. For most means-tested benefits, including pension credit, housing benefit, and council tax reduction, you are required to report a relevant change within 1 calendar month of it happening. For attendance allowance and similar disability-related benefits, the expectation is that you report changes as soon as reasonably possible, which in practice means promptly, not whenever it happens to come to mind. The date that matters is the date the change actually occurred, not the date you got around to mentioning it. If your circumstances changed on the 5th of the month and you do not report it until 6 weeks later, you are already outside the window, even if you genuinely forgot or did not realize it counted. This is precisely why so many honest pensioners get caught. They are not ignoring a deadline. They simply never knew there was a deadline attached to that particular life event at all. So let me give you the practical part, the steps you can take right now to make sure you are never one of the people this happens to. The first thing to do is sit down and honestly think through the last few months. Has anyone moved into or out of your household? Has your health changed in either direction? Has a sum of money come in or your savings shifted noticeably? Have you or your partner spent any time in hospital? If the answer to any of these is yes, and you have not specifically reported it to the relevant department, that is something to deal with this week, not at some vague point in the future. The second thing is to understand which department needs to know. Different benefits are run by different parts of the system. Pension credit changes go to the pension service. Council tax reduction goes to your local council. Housing benefit, in most areas, also goes through your council. Attendance allowance changes go to the attendance allowance helpline. Reporting a change to one does not automatically update the others, which is a mistake in itself that catches people who assume telling one office covers everything. The third thing is to keep a simple record every time your circumstances genuinely shift. Even something as small as a note in a diary with the date can make an enormous difference if a question ever comes up later about when something happened and when you reported it. And the fourth thing, if you are at all unsure whether something counts as a reportable change, is to simply ask rather than assume. You are never penalized for asking a question. You are only ever penalized for staying silent when you should have spoken up. Age UK and Citizens Advice both offer free, independent guidance on exactly this kind of question, and a 5-minute phone call can save you months of repayments further down the line. I want to leave you with the honest truth about why this catches so many people, because I think it matters. The system relies entirely on you to report changes. It has no way of automatically knowing that your son moved back in, or that your savings grew, or that you spent a week in hospital. It simply assumes that nothing has changed unless you tell it otherwise, and it builds your payments on that assumption month after month. When that assumption turns out to be wrong, the system does not ask whether you meant any harm by it. It simply corrects the figures and expects the difference back. That is not cruelty. It is how an automated rules-based system is designed to behave. But it does mean that the responsibility sits entirely with you to recognize a reportable change when it happens in your own life. And that is a genuinely difficult thing to do, when nobody has ever clearly explained the full list to you. You now know that list. You know the 5 most common changes that catch people out. You know the 1-month window that matters more than almost any other date in your financial life right now. And you know exactly who to ask if you are ever unsure. That knowledge, used properly this month, is the difference between staying completely secure and quietly walking into a mistake that takes months to put right. If this has been useful to you, please share it with anyone you know who is receiving pension credit, housing benefit, or attendance allowance, because this is exactly the kind of thing that catches good, honest people who simply were never told the rule existed. Hit subscribe and stay close, because I will keep bringing you exactly this kind of thing the moment it matters. I'm James Hartley, and I'll see you in the next video.